steady as an arrow. It is time for the France 24 debate. Talk about pulling a runner. After Hong Kong, U.S. intelligence whistleblower Edward Snowden, a no-show this Monday on a Havana-bound Aeroflot flight out of Moscow. Snowden, who turned 30 last week, in hiding since he blew the whistle on U.S. intelligence's monitoring of web users the world over. Cyber eavesdropping, or cyber snooping, that effectively taps into the data of companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, and Microsoft. Some of his defenders, well, make for unlikely advocates for civil liberties.
We're seriously concerned about recent revelations of the United States hacking Chinese institutions. This proves once again that China is a victim of hacking attacks.
It's not just Beijing expressing shock and indignation. Many in the West horrified to discover how the U.S. government outsources surveillance to private firms, in this case to the Hong Kong office of consultants Booz Allen Hamilton. Whistleblower or traitor? Today, catch me if you can. The France 24 debate tracks the movements and motives of Edward Snowden. We're doing it in the company of Arship Yepmou. He's president of Internet Without Borders. Welcome to the debate. Welcome as well to computer scientist Stefan Grumbach, author of Data Harvesting 2.0 from the Visible to the Invisible Web. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, thank you.
Joining us from Amsterdam, Matt Holridge, surveillance industry consultant, former chair of Lawful Intercepts Groups in the US and Europe. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, François.
The France 24 debate, where you can always join the conversation, and you have on Facebook and Twitter our hashtag F24debate. The front cover of the Independent says it all. Journalists at Moscow airport asking passengers getting off the plane, have you seen this man getting off the flight from Hong Kong? If they recognize the man in the photo being, of course, Edward Snowden. The papers charting Snowden's course from Hong Kong to what many will believe will be his final destination, sunny Ecuador, whose authorities have hinted the red carpet is being vacuumed, but it could also be Iceland. Maybe Moscow correspondent Joshua Yaffa has better intelligence than the poor journalists who bought tickets on that flight to Cuba. Joshua, what do we know? All right, Joshua Yaffa, can you hear me?
Yes.
Any words on the whereabouts or the destination of one Edward Snowden?
No, still unclear. Very mysterious situation here in Moscow tonight. The press corps here in Moscow expected him to be on this Aeroflot flight departing Moscow at 2 o'clock this afternoon for Havana. And it seemed initially like that indeed was the case, just judging by the hubbub and strange set of circumstances surrounding that flight as it was preparing to depart from Sheremetyevo Airport. Security tape was put up to block people, even those with tickets on the flight, from getting on, or at least sort of blocking the view of those getting onto the plane. There were reports of those journalists who did make it onto the plane saying that they were asked to give up their telephones for the duration of the flight. Some people talked of having security agents ask them to erase footage. So even in the minutes up until that flight departed, it seemed like, given those sets of circumstances, Snowden would appear. But then he didn't, adding to the mystery and essentially making everyone go back to square one in their guesses as to his whereabouts. Is he still in Russia? Not clear. Was he ever in Russia? Not clear. There's been no official confirmation from the Russian government about whether or not Snowden was here.
All right,
all they've said.
No official confirmation from the Russian government. The White House spokesperson, Jay Carney, saying the U.S. assumes Snowden is now in Russia. And Joshua, there's been a lot of resentment, it seems, on the part of the Americans towards Moscow the last 24 hours.
That's right. Certainly, there's a deeper geopolitical element here, or at least an element that reveals something deeper about the Russian-U.S. relationship, rather than just the narrow matter at hand, which is Snowden his whereabouts and what Russia is prepared to do about them. And that is a worsening relationship between the two countries, in which Moscow seems quite content to play the role of a kind of spoiler, poking its finger in the eye of the United States whenever it can. And it's certainly enjoying being able to grandstand a bit and flap its arms and complain about civil liberties and protections of whistleblowers. Of course, the United States has its own complaints about those issues inside of Russia. The Kremlin is enjoying the chance to turn the tables.
Turn the table on the U.S. I want to thank you, Joshua Yaffa, for joining us from Moscow. The White House, by the way, also saying it's, quote, not buying that the decision by Hong Kong authorities to let Snowden leave for Russia was a technical reason. Hong Kong, which, by the way, does have an extradition treaty with the United States. Snowden, nonetheless, allowed to fly.
We were asking the United States government for further important information on the case. And there was no legal basis to stop Mr. Snowden from leaving Hong Kong.
All right, so you heard what Joshua Yaffa, our correspondent, said about the bad blood between the U.S. and Moscow. But it seems as though the accusations that are going back and forth between the U.S., Hong Kong, and mainland China, there's a lot more at stake.
Yes, of course. I think that the current situation will evolve for many more years. What can be done with data is very unclear. So there was a kind of belief that the US were using the data in a fair way. Europe has an agreement.
And a few months back, they blew the whistle, or it wasn't the U.S., but it was an American company that blew the whistle on Chinese cyber spying.
Well, yeah, that's a different story. I mean, cyber spying and what the NSA was doing might be different. I mean, what the NSA was. I mean, Snowden also accused the NSA of spying.
How are they different? Explain.
No, what I mean is the NSA handles a lot of data in the US, which is in the US, that they have in the US from one is from the telecom operators and the other from the web companies. It's a different story to attack another country and cyber attack on another ground.
But there is this element of payback.
Sure. But there will be a series of conflicts on these issues for many, many years, because what can be done is very unclear today, and what should be done with data. And there is and the American president himself said in his press conference that you cannot have 100% security and 100% privacy. And then he said, well, I guess we have to make some choices.
And that's what we're going to talk about right now. We can show you one tweet from Christina saying, I wouldn't offer him asylum. He's a leaker, not a whistleblower. Arship Yepmu, is he a leaker or a whistleblower?
Of course, he's a whistleblower, because he revealed what can be treated as a kind of massive threat against our free societies and our democracies. Why? Because if you allow what Snowden said, he said that a simple analyst in the NSA can watch what you type, what your ideas, why you are typing on your computers, without any guarantees, just based on what he thinks is good or bad. So I think that, of course, he's a whistleblower, and for our organization and for many people, he has to be considered like this.
Matt Holridge, do you agree?
The abuses that he outlined should have been something that brought up in a whistleblower fashion, but that's separate from taking all of his knowledge and whatever data he might have brought with him. That's leaking. So he should be, rewarded and his story investigated regarding the abuses, but the actions he's taken is that of someone who's leaking sensitive data.
And I think he could face up to 30 years in prison. Would he deserve that kind of prison sentence, in your view, Matt?
If he takes sensitive data and passes it along to foreign sources, yeah, that's definition of a traitor there. But if he doesn't do that, then no, he should be.
The question is to know if the revelation that Ed Snowden made was to protect our civil liberties or not. The second question is the impact. Who was the receptor of this informations? It was a newspaper. Right, so I don't think that based on this consideration, first one that the action is to protect civil liberties, and the fact that he revealed these informations to the Guardian, in fact, it testifies on the fact that he is not a traitor, but he is a whistleblower, and that we have to, as citizens, we have to understand that the revelations are that he made in a whistleblower.
All right. With one tweet here from Jean, with the NSA's PRISM program recently revealed, I wonder what other dirty secrets Ed Snow will show us next. I can only imagine. We're joined, by the way, by Guillaume Calais. Welcome, tech reporter based in Paris. Guillaume, the interesting point there made by Archid Yemou. He didn't just release raw data. He gave it to a newspaper to vet.
Yeah, I think basically Edward Snowden wanted to protect himself because he knows that he's in real danger. What is amazing here is basically how far did the websites collaborate with the US government or not. And we see a kind of a Cold War today between the American websites and the rest of the...
You say American websites, you mean like the internet giants. So
exactly, exactly, like Facebook, Google, basically a little bit Twitter, but Twitter didn't play the game really well. And that's a point. Twitter will say off the record saying that they are not collaborating with the US government. It's quite amazing. All
right, whistleblower or leaker on the Sunday morning US political chat shows not many calling Edward Snowden a hero. Enter, for instance, Michigan Congressman Mike Rogers.
Every one of those nations is hostile to the United States. I mean, if he could go to North Korea and Iran, he could round out his government oppression tour by Snowden. So you think about what he says he wants and what his actions are, it defies logic. He has taken information that does not belong to him. It belongs to the people of the United States.
Stéphane Grumbach, settle this argument for us.
Well, it's hard to say to whom belongs this information. I mean, the people who are putting their information on Facebook or Google or the other American websites, they didn't expect their information to end up on the NSA servers. Moreover, I think one point which is extremely important is that the data from American residents is protected in the US in a way which is very different from the data from foreigners, people outside the US. And Obama again insisted on that the US resident should be reinsured because their data was protected in another way.
Matt Holridge, as an American living abroad, your thoughts on that?
Well, as someone who has nothing to hide, of course, I don't worry, and I understand the value, commercial value of this data. It can be used in ways by many companies, whether I permit it or not. But we have to also realize that we're heading in this direction in such a hurry with the new technologies that are coming out, and also in the next couple of years, that data mining of all our information and soon it's going to be with telephone calls, with the new style telephone calls, is inevitable. It's going to happen, and if we really think as a public that this is wrong, we should do something about it. But we're not doing anything about it. We're accepting the fact.
Matt, you say it's inevitable. When you say that, is that a good thing, or are you just being fatalistic?
No, it's a good thing for services. It'll make people, but it's a bad thing, of course, for privacy advocates. That's the reality, I think.
Guillaume Gralet?
I would say that when the service is free, you are basically the product. And the main thing concerning Facebook is that people will give information because they want to. And imagine that there have been more information, more data on Facebook servers that everything that has been written since the beginning of humanity. So Facebook is collecting a large amount of songs, data, likes, that allows him to know everyone, included people that are not on Facebook, considering the fact that people are on Facebook are speaking about other people.
Yes, regarding Facebook, we can make how we give them our data, our personal data, how we give them information, Facebook or other services. We can make a parallel with I don't know if you remember the book of Etienne Laboissière, a French writer of the 17th century. He wrote a novel called Voluntary Servitude, how we all participate in the and symbolic violence. I think it's 2 years ago we filed a complaint against Facebook the day of the IPO, because our organization saw that it was a kind of a big game that they were gambling with our personal data. They were gambling with our democracies because.
And what was the upshot of the lawsuit?
Excuse me?
What was the upshot of the lawsuit? What happened?
Nothing. We filed a complaint against Facebook on the French with the French authority for privacy, and what we saw is that this authority was completely doesn't have means and doesn't have personals, doesn't have infrastructures to address concrete concerns on Facebook.
Okay, so a feeling of helplessness and fatality, Guillaume.
Yeah, but I would make some differences between the websites, because all the websites do not react the same way, and we see that as the years go on. For example, Google at the very beginning was quite reluctant in giving some data to the government. Google is publishing every year a transparency report, and Twitter, in the WikiLeaks case, Twitter didn't accept to give some direct messages, a private message to the U.S. government.
So what's interesting in this conversation, because we're going to take a break, is that we've just naturally sort of morphed into a conversation about how the private sector is mining this data, and not so much the traditional spying mechanisms. One comment on Twitter: ever wondered if the NSA, the National Security Agency, listens in on Obama's phone calls, or would that be going too far? Stay with us, more to come here on France 24.